From the time we are conceived, we are surrounded and nurtured by water. When I was born, I came into my world surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, an ocean that excites us, that feeds us, an ocean that we fear as she ebbs and flows closer and closer to our coastal homes. My name is Lucille Chute. I am a feminist and I embrace my tradition and culture. I am a community media activist. I use radio to break the silence, to empower, to influence. My maternal village is Tawake. I ride the waves to reach Tawake. My boat ride brings me to the place where my grandmother, my mother, aunts and sisters have seen the ocean rise and reach out to us. Over the past 20 years, the waves have risen, swamping out food gardens, affecting the health of our people and our oceans, which lashes out to us during storms and hurricanes. I see the evidence and damage of climate change becoming all too visible. And then I see the progress in our capital. I wonder, is this how we define development? In 1995, our governments committed to achieve equality between women and men through the Beijing Platform for Action. The Millennium Development Goals were also adopted in 2000. Governments adopted the new Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. A promise to advance women's human rights, to address inequalities, to end violence against women and girls, to ensure access to sexual and reproductive health, to ensure women's economic security, and to be safe. I am a Pacific woman. These are our stories.
Women's stories need to be told. First of all, they need to be told to these policymakers what their livelihoods and how they're being impacted. And then these stories need to be told to people who are in those positions of making these policies, to really not just look at certain segments of society, but to look at society comprehensively, to see how these policies are actually impacting every single member, men and women.
Peace and security for Pacific women really begins in the home. As a young Samoan woman, one of the things that we learned very quickly is the role of women as peacemakers in society and women as peacemakers in families and communities. And through that role, there was an expectation on women to come in where there's potential conflict, where there's disagreements and potential conflicts arising out of disagreements. It was the role of women and Tamaitai as Pae Ma'auli in Samoa to try and facilitate discussion and dialogue so that the different parties will arrive at a space where they can resolve these issues or where they can collectively determine a way forward in addressing these issues.
In the areas of gender equality, there are women in their village or community or islands that are working on micro income generating just so they could make a living for their family. And they use the bandanas and they use the shells that is naturally there.
And in this case, in the case of women, we need to look at how we can help them. This is their livelihood. How can we help these women continue to sustainably harvest, the marine products, the mangrove clams, and also balance this with economic progress or for the nation as a whole.
Depends on where you are. If you are far in the valleys,
then the river gets dry because of the firebush. But when you are close to the sea, now they have to go a bit further to do some fishing to get fish at home. Now the women used to be to go out fishing together. Now it's not the case.
So all of these are putting our women into a very difficult situation because handicraft making is their source of income. It's their everyday life. So for women who live on the outer islands, this climate change thing is making the whole their lives much harder. And even today, handicraft making is a source of income that women depend on to educate, to send their children to schools, and so this means hardships for some women out there.
If they are not in the decision making of the adaptation program, or when there's a program or projects that is coming as far as development or climate changes on the village, then they get left behind. Development might just destroy the area where they're collecting the shells, or water is taken away from where the bandanas are growing, or the sea is just washing them, and it's not being replaced. I know everyday women is always teaching their children how to conserve water, and that should come up to a level where it should continue the conservation of water. Women has perspective, good initiatives around how water can be shared or can be used and can be kept, or they have some measures of conserving water.
In terms of displacement, yes, because we do have some atolls to the north and then several to the south, which are currently, we have population there. But in terms of sea level rise, sea inundation and so forth, it impacts their food supply. But most of all, in terms of sea level rise, we're talking about perhaps these places not being habitable after so many decades. So we have to think about also how to move these people. Because again, land tenure and land being identity in Palau, also, you're not just a Palauan, but you're also from a very specific place and space.
There is soil erosion, there is the relocation if possible, especially our people living on the shores, because we have nowhere to run, we have limited land. So it means everything. This climate change is actually giving women more time to work harder than before, and sometimes it's beyond our control.
The new Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. A promise to advance women's human rights, to address inequalities, to end violence against women and girls, to ensure access to sexual and reproductive health, to ensure women's economic security and to be safe, to live in peaceful societies and supported to participate in decision-making. This new Sustainable Development Agenda must not just be another set of promises. The goals cannot be achieved without the involvement of women. We must work together, you and me, to change laws and policies, to redefine peace by putting human security first, to change the way we live with each other and with our environment. So when the world gathers again in 2030, what would we have achieved? What is the transformation that is needed for women's lives, for our communities?
My daughter, she's 10. I've got 3 grandchildren, and I hope that for them, the things that we're doing now and the things that we are facing now, it wouldn't be a problem for them. That's my hope.
Women would be able to live their lives as they want, as they like, and as they wish they could. Their aspirations would be taken into account without fear. I hope that the mothers, the parents, they also do respect their children. Everybody in the home respect each other, not because of their sex, but because they are human beings. If that is happening at any level, I think there would be peace, justice, and it's forever.
I mean, in 5 years' time, that they have eliminated most forms of discrimination against women and girls, and that they have narrowed the gap of gender equality between, and the issues are being catered or looked at to a point where women and men are working together. I think that if women and girls are empowered to know and to participate and to access whatever is there, then I think the working together, obtaining gender equality and fairness, should have a high standard that the country should be proud of to report anyway.
I want my daughters to be able to, even have the say around things like family planning. I know that it's slowly changing, but even having the information awareness around family planning not only go to my daughters but to their husbands or their partners, the important role of women, the respect. So seeing both my sons and daughters growing up, valuing that partnership, having the respect for each other, yes, and being successful in life.
It would be very ideal to report that we have been able to address the needs of the individual human being, the individual person who lives in Palau, and at the same time, ensure that the resources have been sustainably maintained, or we were able to sustainably use those resources.
Gender equality in the Pacific, I think definitely reduction in violence against women, more women in parliament and women taking up political leadership positions, and I think more recognition of women's contribution and participation in the economy. I think if we're able to see some of those things, then I think we should be okay.
We are Pacific sisters. We are connected by the ocean. Our stories rise above the waves, reflecting the sign of the times. Our stories call for creating a climate of peace. Because peace is simply not an answer, but the answer.
Yeah, my name is Ruth Pokora.
My name is Claudel Singel.
I'm Viola.
My name is Janet.
My name is Quincelani Toelupe Tango Elisara. I'm from Samoa and I'm a Pacific woman.
Woman. She rises in the early morn, her vala tied above her breasts. To the sea she hurries with flowers alone to wash the sins the night has left. The pastor, he would curse her now if he knew she'd eaten again from the tree. But a family planning volunteer did clear her with a shot for free. The waves caress her bosom, more patient than the man had been. Her heart's consistent wailing drowns the songs the spirits sing. She buries her treasures in her soul. The pastor wants them saved. The man, he'll sleep until the dawn, such turtle blind faith. A seagull, old with waiting, cries, "Where did you bury them, pray?" She smiles her secrets in the sand. Silence betrays their emptiness. With parted lips she waits and aches for the slow, sweet shell to break. Pastor, please don't save them yet. The generous act she must protest. She gathers her modern chestnut leaf and makes the rock her hiding place. The distant breakers echo the call, but now she has to wait.